Stop the internet. Claressa Shields, the Olympic double gold, the undefeated queen of women's boxing, the woman who has spent her entire adult life training to punch other human beings unconscious, just got mentally knocked out cold by a girl with a cell phone and a caption. No jab. No hook. No uppercut. One photograph, honey. One. And the greatest woman boxer of this generation folded like a lawn chair at a family cookout. If you thought this Claressa Shields vs Tesehki storyline was over, baby, pull the plug on whatever you're doing, because what actually happened is worse than any of these blogs are telling you, and by the end of this breakdown, you are going to understand why Claressa Shields might never live this moment down. Not in the ring. Not on a podcast. Not on a red carpet. Not ever. Welcome back to the couch, baby. Grab your cup, pull the curtains, lock the door, silence your mama's phone call, because tonight we are opening up the file on the pettiest, messiest, most surgically executed act of digital revenge that the culture has seen all year. And Claressa Shields, God bless her, walked herself right into it. Everything we're about to unpack is publicly posted material, Instagram captions, live stream clips, podcast quotes, comment sections. What is confirmed, we'll call confirmed. What is speculation, we'll flag as speculation. This is your favorite spot for the tea that's already boiling, and if you're new here, do me one small favor before we dig in, tap that subscribe button, smack that like, and share this with the group chat that has been arguing about Claressa Shields all week, because tonight, the argument ends. Let's rewind the calendar. Almost a year ago, Claressa Shields did what champions who are bored, restless, and a little too online tend to do. Claressa Shields went on social media and put a bounty on herself. Not a metaphor. A literal bounty. $10,000, then $100,000, of Claressa Shields' own money, dangled in the digital air, promised to any street fighter, any brawler, any woman on planet Earth who thought she could step through a rope and take Claressa Shields' head off. No city restrictions. No weight class conversation. No paperwork. Just a boxing world champion telling the entire internet, come and get it. And the entire internet, in a rare moment of complete agreement, coughed up one name and one name only. Tesehki. That reality show baddie with the reputation, the reach, and the reflexes that make grown men reroute their evenings. The woman whose knuckles have their own Wikipedia page. And baby, that was the moment the trapdoor opened underneath Claressa Shields' feet, she just didn't hear it click. Because here's the little detail Claressa Shields did not price into her bounty. The man at the center of the emotional universe here, Papoose, the Brooklyn rapper turned Claressa Shields' partner, is the same Papoose who reportedly caused a low-level thermonuclear incident between Claressa Shields and Remy Ma not too long ago. So when Claressa Shields walked into this Tesehki confrontation with her chest all the way out, she was already sitting on a live wire. Claressa Shields lit the match. Claressa Shields poured on the accelerant. Claressa Shields even passed out the marshmallows to the audience. And then, when the bonfire licked her own eyebrows off, Claressa Shields had the nerve to look shocked. Baby, when you put a bounty on your own head, the neighborhood collects. Every single time. And the second Tesehki's government name started trending under Claressa Shields' call-out, this stopped being a boxing debate and turned into a full-blown cultural war. A war Claressa Shields was so unprepared for. Enter the podcast. Claressa Shields pulls up to pop the balloon, that circuit that pretends to be about dating but is really about clip farms, and somebody asks the exact question the whole timeline was already screaming, could Tesehki actually beat Claressa Shields in a real fight? And Claressa Shields, instead of letting the question die in the air, doubled down and tripled down. Tesehki can't touch a trained fighter. Those baddies Tesehki has been dropping on reality TV, according to Claressa Shields, ain't trained, they just got body work. That's a direct swing at the plastic surgery culture around that show. And Claressa Shields tossed Tesehki one polite crumb, if Tesehki ever seriously wanted the smoke, Claressa Shields said she'd oblige. But that respect was thin, baby. It was tissue paper thin. And this right here, this exact minute of Claressa Shields' podcast footage, is the whole feud in a snow globe. On one side, an Olympian. Meal plans. Sparring partners. Coaches. A camp. A resume with medals on top of medals. On the other side, a woman whose training program is walking down the wrong block at the wrong time and refusing to be a victim. Discipline versus instinct. Technique versus temper. The champ versus the storm. That is the debate that split every comment section in America, and every single move Claressa Shields made afterwards only made the crack wider. Then Tesehki heard it. All of it. And Tesehki responded, not with a fist, but with something far more dangerous. Language. Tesehki hopped on live and delivered what might be the coldest self-assessment of the year. Claressa Shields, according to Tesehki, only wins this fight in one universe, the universe where Tesehki is never allowed to train. Tesehki called herself a natural-born trained killer, the kind of fighter who doesn't need a coach because rage is her coach. Every scuffle you've ever seen Tesehki win, according to Tesehki, was pure raw instinct, no gym, no mitt work, no film study. And then Tesehki dropped the line that made Claressa Shields' whole camp go silent. Tesehki said she is now, for the first time in her life, about to actually start training. Sparring. Real sessions. Real coaches. And once Tesehki flips that switch, according to Tesehki, nobody on planet Earth is safe. Baby, that is either delusion at the Olympic level, or the scariest sentence Claressa Shields has ever heard, because a trained fighter fights with a game plan. A natural fighter has no plan, no restraint, no mercy button, no off switch. Tesehki's entire pitch is that Claressa Shields earned her title through discipline, and Tesehki was simply born with something you cannot teach. Now let's ask the smart fan question, honey, because this is the crossroads where Claressa Shields lost the crowd. Why is a two-time Olympic gold medalist, a multi-belt world champion, a name that is supposed to be sharing oxygen with Ali and Robinson in the history books, publicly wrestling in the mud with a reality TV brawler? Why is Claressa Shields punching all the way down instead of preparing for her next real opponent? The comment sections turned on Claressa Shields with a swiftness that should have been a warning. Claressa Shields does too much for clout. Claressa Shields, focus on boxing. Claressa Shields, why are you even acknowledging Tesehki? And to be fair, because we ride for the truth in every direction on this couch, Claressa Shields is not wrong to be annoyed. A grown, decorated, world-class champion truly should not have to justify herself against somebody whose sparring gym is a Popeye's parking lot. Claressa Shields had nothing to prove. That's the whole tragedy. The moment Claressa Shields started acting like she did have something to prove, Claressa Shields lost. Because the second a champion starts arguing with the parking lot, baby, the parking lot already won the round, and the parking lot didn't even break a sweat. But Claressa Shields could not let it go. Instead of walking away and letting the internet forget, Claressa Shields did the one thing champions are trained never to do, Claressa Shields fed the beast. Claressa Shields hopped online with a public offer of $300,000 to face Tecia Torres in a real ring, dragging a legitimate MMA name into what had become a reality TV storyline. Claressa Shields ran fan polls. Who should Claressa Shields fight next? Claressa Shields vs. Ivory. Claressa Shields vs. Dolly. Claressa Shields in the middle, letting the audience play matchmaker. And every single one of those posts was another log on Tesehki's fire, because every single one of those posts told the algorithm the same thing, Claressa Shields is thinking about Tesehki. Claressa Shields is refreshing the timeline. Claressa Shields is losing the composure that made Claressa Shields a champion in the first place. The supporters of Claressa Shields called it smart promotion. The critics called it desperation. Either way, the entire timeline was watching. And Tesehki, patient as a spider, was watching too. Waiting. And then Tesehki chose her weapon. Not a fist. Not a call-out. Not a rebuttal video. Tesehki chose a photograph. A single, casual, seemingly harmless photograph. Tesehki, sometime after the beef had already curdled into something personal, posted a picture that included Papoose. Just a still frame. Just a caption. Just a mood. And the internet detonated in real time. To be responsible about it, that photo and that caption, on their face, do not confirm anything beyond what was publicly posted. There is no proof of anything private. But online perception travels at the speed of light, and proof always shows up hours late. Fans built theories. Comment sections wrote novels. Reaction channels lit up. Threads dissected every pixel of that image, every syllable of that caption, every song choice attached to the post. And within minutes, the boxing rivalry was no longer a boxing rivalry. It was a war for narrative. It was a war for the girlfriend title. It was a war for the internet. And Tesehki, who has never thrown a professional punch in her life, won it before Claressa Shields could even reach her keyboard. Because Claressa Shields did reach the keyboard. Within the hour, baby, Claressa Shields came flying back with her own photograph. Claressa Shields with Papoose. Caption reading something along the lines of "Good morning to my man and my man only." And listen, if you have to remind the entire internet that a man is your man and your man only, the man is already emotionally not entirely your man and your man only. That response wasn't a comeback. That response was a receipt for the panic. That was Claressa Shields checking a fire alarm in a house that was already smoke-logged. Claressa Shields kept swinging on the timeline after that, throwing more jabs, calling on the boxing world to force Tesehki into a real sanctioned ring where Claressa Shields could handle business the proper way. And you know what, in the sanctioned ring, Claressa Shields probably clears Tesehki's whole bloodline. That is not the point. That has never been the point. The point is that the ring was not the battlefield anymore. The battlefield was the caption box, the group chat, the reposts, the reaction videos, the memes. And on that battlefield, the trained world champion just got outboxed by a reality TV baddie who never once had to make weight. And baby, let me pause right here, because I need you to feel the weight of what actually happened in that clock. The hour, honey. The hour. That is the tell. When Claressa Shields let 1 hour pass between Tesehki's post and Claressa Shields' rebuttal, Claressa Shields told the entire internet that the shot landed. Champions who are truly unbothered do not clock in that fast. Champions who are truly unbothered do not caption in all caps. Champions who are truly unbothered do not need to remind the world who the man belongs to. The math on this is brutal. Tesehki spent maybe 40 seconds crafting a post, and Claressa Shields spent the next 59 minutes and 20 seconds losing sleep over it. That is not a champion's clock. That is a girlfriend's clock. And in that gap between Tesehki's post and Claressa Shields' response, the entire perception of Claressa Shields shifted from apex predator to protective girlfriend, and once that shift happens, honey, you don't get to shift it back. The internet only allows you one first impression per storyline, and Claressa Shields spent hers panicking. Let me lay out for you exactly what Claressa Shields lost, honey, because it's important to name it. Claressa Shields did not lose a fight. Claressa Shields lost a frame. Claressa Shields lost the frame in which Claressa Shields is the composed, elite, above-it-all Olympian. Claressa Shields entered this whole storyline as the champion. Claressa Shields is exiting it as a woman who reposts, panic captions, and runs fan polls at midnight. And that shift, that vibe shift, is the kind of damage that no belt fixes. Belts fix records. Belts do not fix perception. And in 2020-something, perception is the whole game. Now, let's slow down and steelman both sides, because that's how we do it here. Team Tesehki, when it dwindles down, has a real argument. Team Tesehki says raw talent matters. Team Tesehki says heart matters. Team Tesehki says a bounty is a bounty, and Claressa Shields wrote the check, so Claressa Shields cannot complain when the streets cash it. Team Tesehki also says, and this is the kicker, that Tesehki did not need to touch Claressa Shields to embarrass Claressa Shields. Tesehki simply held up a mirror, and Claressa Shields could not stand what Claressa Shields looked like in it. Team Claressa Shields, on the flip side, is not wrong either. Team Claressa Shields says training beats instinct in a controlled setting 100 times out of 100. Team Claressa Shields says a reality TV brawl is not a fight, and a fight in a sanctioned ring is not a reality TV brawl. Team Claressa Shields says Tesehki hides behind her phone because Tesehki knows exactly what happens the second real gloves come on. And on paper, in the sport of boxing, Team Claressa Shields is dead correct. That is where we have to be honest. The problem is not the argument. The problem is the arena. Claressa Shields wanted the arena to be the ring. Tesehki turned the arena into the timeline. And you cannot win the timeline with an amateur belt. You win the timeline with an angle. Tesehki had the angle. Claressa Shields had the resume. In the year of our internet, the angle wins. And now let's talk about Papoose, because Papoose has managed to sit in the eye of a hurricane, be photographed with two women who are publicly at war over him, and somehow avoid saying a single verifiable sentence in his own defense. Papoose is the most silent character in a storyline that is literally about Papoose. That silence, baby, is either strategy or complicity, and neither one is a good look. Papoose reportedly caused the last major flare-up between Claressa Shields and Remy Ma, and now Papoose is reportedly at the center of the second major flare-up between Claressa Shields and Tesehki. At some point, Papoose stops being a coincidence and starts being a pattern, and patterns, honey, are the kind of thing that make grown women reconsider every text they've ever answered. If Papoose is truly Claressa Shields' man and Claressa Shields' man only, Papoose has one job, and Papoose is not doing it. If Papoose is enjoying this attention, Papoose is playing a game that Papoose is going to lose. And if there is a version of this story that we're not seeing, the version behind a closed door, the version off the phone, the version Claressa Shields cries about in the car, Papoose owes Claressa Shields at least a public sentence. Claressa Shields, at minimum, deserves that. And since we're on the subject of Papoose, let's flash all the way back to the Remy Ma chapter, because it is impossible to understand this Tesehki moment without understanding the Remy Ma moment that preceded it. Remy Ma, according to public reports and the timeline everybody was screenshotting, allegedly clashed with Claressa Shields over the exact same man, in the exact same energy, over the exact same kind of implication. Different accuser, same accusation. Different photograph, same triangle. And now, less than a full news cycle later, here comes Tesehki running the same play from a different angle. When something happens once, honey, it's a moment. When something happens twice, it's a coincidence. When something happens 3 times, it's a lifestyle, and Papoose is one screenshot away from being a lifestyle. Claressa Shields, who is a champion of pattern recognition inside the ring, because that is literally what elite boxing is, reading a pattern faster than the other woman can hide it, appears, for reasons only Claressa Shields understands, to be refusing to read the pattern outside the ring. And every time Claressa Shields defends the pattern instead of confronting it, another wave of the audience takes a step back. That is not a Tesehki problem. That is not a Remy Ma problem. That is a mirror problem, and you cannot spar with a mirror. Let me take you inside the psychology of what Tesehki did, because this is the part the reaction videos are underselling. Tesehki did not attack Claressa Shields. Read that again, honey. Tesehki did not attack Claressa Shields. Tesehki attacked the story Claressa Shields tells herself about Claressa Shields. There is a version of Claressa Shields' internal narrative where Claressa Shields is untouchable, the queen of the ring, the queen of the house, the queen of the man, the queen of the timeline. Tesehki reached in, without any evidence, without any punch, without any confrontation, and poked exactly one hole in exactly one wall of that narrative. The wall labeled the man. And once one wall of a self-story starts leaking, every other wall starts to look suspicious. That is why Claressa Shields' response was so disproportionate. Claressa Shields was not defending Papoose. Claressa Shields was defending the whole architecture of the fantasy that Claressa Shields has full command of every room in Claressa Shields' life. Tesehki is not a boxer. Tesehki is a demolition expert. And Tesehki did not need a hammer. All Tesehki needed was one caption placed on exactly the correct load-bearing wall. Let me hit you with the pattern nobody else is naming, because this is where it gets big. Claressa Shields is not the first champion to lose the narrative in a story like this, and Claressa Shields will not be the last. There is a cycle in this culture that keeps repeating. Elite performer, top of their craft, decides to prove that their real-world dominance translates to social media dominance. It doesn't. It never does. Because the skill set that made you a champion, the discipline, the linear thinking, the game plan, the willingness to grind through a 9-round drought, is the exact opposite of the skill set that wins the internet. The internet rewards volatility. The internet rewards chaos. The internet rewards the person who cares the least. And Claressa Shields, in this moment, cared way too much. Claressa Shields cared out loud. Claressa Shields cared with receipts. Claressa Shields cared with polls. And every single ounce of that caring was fuel for Tesehki's fire. Tesehki, meanwhile, cared just enough to press one button. Post. And walked away. That is the entire lesson of this cycle. When you're the champion move is silence. Claressa Shields chose noise. Noise is a young opponent's game. Let's recap the T one more time, baby, in the plainest possible language. Claressa Shields put a bounty on herself. Tesehki answered the bounty. Claressa Shields argued that a trained fighter always beats a street fighter. Tesehki said Claressa Shields could only beat Tesehki if Tesehki never learned to fight properly. The internet split down the middle. Claressa Shields kept escalating. Claressa Shields threw around a $300,000 offer to Tecia Torres, ran fan polls, floated new matchups. Tesehki, in the meantime, said almost nothing. Tesehki simply posted a photograph with Papoose, delivered a caption calm enough to be legal and loaded enough to be lethal, and let the audience finish the sentence. Claressa Shields rushed to the timeline within the hour with a counter photo and a possessive caption that read like a woman refreshing her partner's location tab. And that, honey, was the moment. That was the moment Claressa Shields quietly, publicly, on the record, lost this round. Not the fight. The round. So the question I want you to sit with as you scroll to the comments, because you know I want you in those comments, that's how we feed this couch, is this. Can you be the best in the world at your craft and still lose the narrative to somebody who never studied your craft a day in her life? And if the answer is yes, and I think in 2020 something the answer is undeniably yes, what does that say about how the culture actually rewards discipline versus how the culture rewards spectacle? Are we still watching sports, or are we watching character arcs that happen to include a ring? Is Claressa Shields a fighter or is Claressa Shields a storyline now, and can Claressa Shields ever be one without being the other? Team Tesehki would destroy Claressa Shields if she trained, drop a fire emoji. Team Natural Talent means nothing without training, drop a boxing glove. Team Claressa Shields clears in the ring but Tesehki clears online, drop both, because that is where I quietly live. And if you think Papoose is the true final boss of this whole story, drop the eyeball. Because Papoose is coming up in the very next breakdown on this couch, and you don't want to miss what has been leaking out of his camp this week. Before you go, do me one more small thing. If you made it this far, you already know we did not water down a single drop of this tea. Tap the like. Tap subscribe if you're new here. Share this with the friend who bet you Claressa Shields would clear Tesehki on and off the timeline, because now that friend owes you dinner. Turn the notification bell on, because when this storyline snaps again, and it will snap, honey, it always snaps, you don't want to hear about it 3 days late on somebody else's channel. This is your couch. This is your cup. This is your inside track on every messy, petty, cinematic corner of celebrity culture. The kettle is always hot. The lid is always off. And the next pour is already being brewed. Until then, protect your peace, mind your own timeline, and remember, the belt says champion, but the caption says who really won the night. See you on the next one, baby.